Assalamu alaikum. First of all, Happy New Year to everybody and welcome to another lecture of our series, IQRAA. The people that do come to our center know that we do welcome different a'imma to come and give lectures and khutab, and that is because we believe that the marketplace of ideas is something that really helps everybody when you hear what makes sense to you and what does not make sense to you. And when I say makes sense and what does not make sense, not in the issues of aqidah, of course, in the issues of ta'wil, in the issues of tafsir, and in issues of practice and how it relates to real life. But sometimes I do think that it's a responsibility to always try to speak up when you feel that something is not being practiced correctly the way you see it, and it's an opinion obviously, based on the first and primary source, which is our Quran. This week, for example, we had a khatib that talked about al-wasiyya, about the will. And most of the khutbah was about the importance of the will, in that you should make sure that nobody cries after you die, because you will be responsible for that, and you will have adab, torture, because of that. And that is not true. That is not true at all. It's not in the Quran, because لا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى. And we have to make sure that we understand that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the wasiyah, for example, about the will, it serves the purpose of transferring wealth and transferring values sometimes. So, Sayyidina Ibrahim, Sayyidina Yaqub, ووصى بها إبراهيم ويعقوب بنيه, that the wasiyah that they should not die unless they're Muslim. So that is absolutely fine as part of the wasiyah. But the wasiyah is really about you also, saying how you transfer your wealth. And this is why we want our deen to be relevant. Now, I wanted to talk about this in a lecture of itself, and I also wanted to talk about another subject in of itself, what's going on in Iran, for example, and the whole concept of la ikraha fi din, that you cannot force anybody to believe or not believe. But I found that the common really denominator in the two issues is that we have this issue of naskh, that we have this turath that deals with the naskh. Like sometimes it's a joke that the ayat really eliminate other ayat, and that is true as an ayah in the Quran. Of course, in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that in the ayah, to be more specific, ayah 106, ما ننسخ من آية أو ننسها نأتي بخير منها أو مثلها. We do not delete an ayah or make it forgotten, except that we come with what's better than that ayah, or like that ayah. ألم تعلم أن الله على كل شيء قدير. This ayah is talking about a naskh between different religions, what we have as opposed to what Christians have and what Jews have. What's my dalil? What's my proof on that? Read the ayah before it. The ayah before it talks about ما يود الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب ولا المشركين أن ينزل عليكم من خير من ربكم والله يختص برحمته من يشاء. People of the book do not want you to have, or the mushrikeen that do not believe, do not want you to have khair that is sent from Allah. So this whole thing about this fiqh, that one ayah deletes one ayah. For example, in the ayah of what I started talking about of the wasiyah, Shaykh will tell you right away that ayat al-mawarith completely deleted ayat al-wasiyah, that you cannot give a will for more than a third of what you own. And these things are not compatible with reality, and they're not compatible with what Allah in the Quran wants us to do. Allah says, فَلْيَتَّقَ الَّذِينَ لَوْ تَرَكُوا مِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّةً ضِعَافًا خَافُوا عَلَيْهِمْ فَلْيَتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَلْيَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. فَلْيَخْشَ الَّذِينَ لَوْ تَرَكُوا مِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّةً ضِعَافًا خَافُوا عَلَيْهِمْ فَلْيَتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَلْيَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. It's important that you leave a will that addresses those that are in need in your will. And that's what life is all about. In reality, the laws deal with, do you have a wasiyah or did you die intestate? In the Quran, same thing. من بعد وصية يوصى بها أو دين. You delete that from the estate, and then you look at what's left. And who knows better about you leaving a wasiyah than yourself? Nobody knows better, because you know what you should do and what you should leave. And there's no shame in organizing your financial affairs like it's some. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted you in this world to be khalifa, to know, to administer things and to run things. You know, you want to donate to charity. You want to do, what's right. So the whole thing is that, we have this, fiqh that says this ayah mansukha and this ayah mansukha. It's almost like a joke. What's mansukh and what's not mansukh? We have a Quran. This Quran is whole. This Quran comes together. And that is the primary source. It's not my opinion, and it's not the opinion of another scholar. I respect scholars that came before me, but I only abide by the Quran, and anything that a scholar would say is subject to discussion. What I say is subject to discussion, but we are almost hostages in this like fiqh that really makes no sense in applying it to this real world. We have to speak up and say what's right and what's not right. When we look at what goes on in Iran, for example, it's wrong to force people to do things the way you want. This deen is about the damir, is about you doing what's right. If it's not coming from within, then the rest is for Allah to decide. That's why the ayah that la ikraha fi din, there's no force in religion, was not mansukha. It was not deleted. It will never be deleted. It's in the Quran. It's always going to be in the Quran. I'm passionate about this because we are almost becoming subject to what's called wasaya. Like, these people think that they know more than we do, and they say what they want, and you have to accept it. It's not true. This Quran is whole. You can read it just like Ibn Taymiyyah read it, and Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, and with all due respect to all of our scholars, they have their opinion, but they are not gods. We are treating them like they are, and we say that we're not, but we are, because we accept these things. And when you say that this does not make sense, you have 100 million people that will tell you, who are you to say that? What does that mean? What does that mean? Who are you to say that? Who are they to say that? Were they somebody that Allah told you that you have to follow them? Because if they were, then you are doing the same thing that people before you did. اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله. You're doing the same exact thing. We have to think. This Quran is there for you to read. The ahkam, if it comes to aqeedah, about Allah, about shirk, about Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi salatu salam as the final prophet, about his risala being the final message from Allah, these are not questionable. But this whole fiqh about what you should do and should not do, sometimes you have to stop and think. If you think that the wasiyah is about you making a wasiyah to say that your wife and your sister and whoever it is, you should not cry after you die, then you are really missing the point. You're missing the point for two reasons. Because لا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى. You're not going to be تتعذب, tortured, because somebody cries after you die. And this magic pen, when you write, do not cry, this relieves you of responsibility. It's not in the Quran. If it's not in the Quran, I will not accept it if it doesn't make sense, because this whole world does not accept it. And if you want to teach this to the new generation, you are going to lose the battle, because this battle makes no sense to get into when you know that the laws of trust in a state are valid laws that help you, organize your family affairs, help you. You can say, just like, it's Sayyidina Luqman and Sayyidina Ibrahim and Sayyidina Yaqub, that La ilaha illallah, Muhammadun Rasulullah in your wasiyah, and that you want your kids to die Muslims as a wasiyah. That's of course, that's great. But the wasiyah is not about who will after you and who cries after you and who doesn't. We are missing the point. And this is why I am doing this lecture series. I'm hoping that we can inject reason back into our religion. And always ask yourself, if Allah gave you this book and He told you that this is deen, وَالْيَوْمَ أَكْمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي وَرَضِيتُ لَكُمْ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا, that Quran was complete. Why do you want people that come 250 years after the Quran came down to tell you what religion is about? I thought Allah said that He completed that. Oh, wait a minute. Because you want somebody to explain it to you. So you are accepting that philosophy of qati', and that you are, somebody's making decisions for you and how to live your life. And you're missing the point that is bigger about that. Allah wants you to be a khalifa in the ard, that Allah wants you to be a proactive doer, not somebody that people tell you how to, legislate for your own or administer your own affairs for your own family. And it's just, and it doesn't stop at that. When I talked about la ikraha fi din, they want this government of Iran to tell people what to wear and what not to wear. I'm a Muslim, but I still think that al-hurriya is the very basic thing that comes with Islam. And if somebody wants to wear the hijab or doesn't want to wear the hijab, you cannot force them, because Allah doesn't want you to force them to be Muslims in the first place. And if you want to be a government that forces them, then you are missing the point. And that's why La ikraha fi din will never be deleted and replaced by Ayat al-Sayf. Because Ayat al-Sayf, this is what the fuqaha say, that Ayat al-Sayf deleted or naskhat Ayat al-Khiyar al-Dini, the right to have a choice. If you want to follow that, then there's really no point in hisab. Why am I being really, uhasab? Why do I have to answer to my actions when the decisions are already made by somebody or by some government? We have to really go back and claim our deen, because it's a beautiful deen. And when you talk about nasikh, yes, there is nasikh, because somebody might say, oh, wait a minute, so you were saying that there's no nasikh? No, there is nasikh, but I'll tell you how. The ayah, for example, that talked about in Surah Al-Kahf, for example, about Sayyidina Al-Abd al-Salih. We don't say Sayyidina Al-Khadr because Allah didn't say that. But at that time, in the Jewish religion, uquq al-walidain, disobedience to parents, could result in death. That was had. That was like the punishment for it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now does not want us to do that, because this ayah nusikhat. It's not applicable anymore. Okay? Let's take another ayah, for example, that nusikhat. I can give examples about ayat that nusikhat, ayat that came mithlaha, like it, and ayat that nusiyat, that were forgotten. And I can't get into that too much now, but I will tell you that al-earth, for example, what was the first time that the first prophet that has ayat al-earth in their message was the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So those ayat came because, just like in today's society, if you have a will, then that dictates how the wealth and how your estate will be divided. If you don't have a will, then intestate laws will come in, and and they will control. There are default statutes. This is the same way it is in our kitab. You have a wasiyah, min ba'di wasiyatin yusa biha aw dayn. You don't have a wasiyah, then these are the ayat al-irth that will be applicable. So I hope that this was helpful, and I really hope that we go back to the kitab and read it with not just our eyes, but with our heart, and think about what is Allah trying to give us in this kitab. Jazakumullah khair ala ahsan al-istima'. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.